Did you know that I have a course called Women Who Lead that will change everything about how you interact with humans? You'll learn how to make things safe, logical, fun, and memorable so that people will listen to you and love you a little bit more than they already do. All you have to do is go to www.aimwithus.com and click on courses, and it will take you to everything you need to know. I hope to see you there.
Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. So sometimes you just kind of meet your people, and today is one of those days. Molly and I go way back to like 15 minutes ago, but we are definitely on the same page, down to the 13-year-old Jack Russell Terrier mix. So this is going to be good stuff. But before we get started, I need you to follow this podcast. If you're not following, then you're not getting notifications, and that's no good. So just hit follow or subscribe or whatever the button is on the platform you're on so that you get notifications about the Molly Smiths of this world. So Molly is lots of things. Are you ready? She is a health coach and an author and an entrepreneur, but she is also unbelievably practical. She has Sully, the Jack Russell. I have Dexter, the Jack Russell. But Sully gets costumes when he goes to get groomed, which is pretty amazing. She's the mom of adult-ish boys, an 18 and 21-year-old. She is a ball of fire, and she is an emotion code practitioner. Today, she's a guest on Productive Joy. Welcome to Productive Joy, Molly. Oh no, Molly, you froze. Okay, are you back?
I am. I'm sorry. Dear heavens.
That was actually kind of fun. Okay, so you're a lot of things, my friend, and I
Yes.
would love for you to explain to people in like 30 seconds or less why they really want to listen to this episode. Go.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been through a lot of stuff,
Mm.
and I figured out a couple of things. And so if you are, man, if you're in the funk, if you're looking to pivot out of overwhelm, you want to listen in because I've been there and figured out how to get out of it.
Oh my gosh, that's the best part.
Please listen in.
When you figure out how to get out of it, that's when it is worth moving forward, right? Most definitely. So Molly, you didn't start here,
Yes.
but you got here. How did you get here? How did you
That's right.
figure out how to fix things?
Oh gosh. Well, I've spent a lot of years chasing external validation and a very societally accepted version of success. What was success, right? So I have this definition of success that success in business meant success in life. And so I spent a lot of years climbing the corporate ladder. And when I got to the, executive suite, I realized that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Right. And so I spent a lot of years trying to figure it out, trying to battle with the imposter syndrome and the weight of being a female in leadership in a very misaligned role, and decided enough was enough. And so I had to look those things in the eye, this chasing of what I thought success was, and say, okay, I think I want something different.
Yeah.
And trying to figure it out.
Mm.
And I did.
Well,
Well,
and yeah, now you're on the other side and you're doing some pretty amazing things. And like I said at the beginning, I can tell that you and I are very similar in how we approach things. And the
Yes.
joy just emanates off of you. It is so clear that you found it. But I want to start, this is not where I knew I was going to start. I thought I was going to start somewhere else, but emotion code practitioner. So you took these experiences, all the stuff, all the, I'm sure, big T, little t trauma stuff. And you figured out how to decode some of what you're telling yourself? Like, tell me more. What is an emotion?
Yes. Yes. So the Emotion Code is a book that was written by Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is a former chiropractor. And he discovered this method of how we can identify any trapped emotions that are still stuck in the body.
Sure.
So let's say a bad breakup in high school, for example, right? And so you had some grief and you had some maybe anger or some humiliation or something like that. If you didn't fully process those emotions, then sometimes if you don't do that, then the energy of that emotion gets stuck in the body and creates an imbalance. It can create a mental, emotional, or physical imbalance. And so the emotion code is a way to identify what is that trapped emotion and then releasing it. So it's all based in energetics. We're connecting to the subconscious mind and doing that. I was introduced to this modality almost a year ago, and it was life-changing.
Wow.
Life-changing. And so as I was working with a practitioner in South Africa. So I'm in Dallas, Texas. She was in South Africa. And so subconscious knows no barriers, right? So identified and released hundreds of trapped emotions that I've had over the course of my life. And I just saw how much lighter I felt. You know how like when you feel like an emotional weight has been lifted.
Yes.
Can I get an
Yes.
amen? Yes.
Yes.
That is what that was like. And I looked in my life with my family, and I thought, I would love to be able to help my adult-ish children who are figuring out lifing, right? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get certified in this. And I didn't know at the time how that was going to transpire and how I was going to incorporate it into my business. But I knew that it was very powerful. And I knew that if I had to process every trapped emotion that I'd ever had through cognitive behavioral therapy, that's all I would do for the rest of my life. Can I get an amen? Ain't nobody got time for that. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So this is such a cool modality to help because you don't have to relive those emotions. We just have to identify them and then release them, which is a very simple process. And so it's a way to kind of press the gas on some healing of that big T and little t trauma, if you will. Right?
That's awesome.
And so I was finishing my book last year. I was working on this certification, and this spring, this late winter, early spring, I was like, how can I pull these things together? There's so much power in being able to identify, acknowledge, and attune to our emotions, and then to release the crap that we just want to let go of. And so I'm putting those two things together to help women just like you and I who are in this stage of life who want more, who have a desire for more, so that they can step into whatever the next chapter is, right? With confidence and purpose and just on fire, having released the stuff that's no longer for them.
Okay, love all of it. Love all of it makes me very excited. I know lots of people in this phase of life where we're stuck, but we don't know why. And you mentioned that this is a simple process of letting go, but simple doesn't always mean easy. Simple just means that it is not multi-stepped, right? Like it is something that you can absolutely do. So it made me think of a couple different books that I've read and a couple different guests that I've had actually that talk about this sort of thing. But if ever there was a fabulous book title, it's yours. So I want you to share your book title and then tell us if I were to pick it up and flip open to chapter 1, what sort of practical advice would I get? So
my gosh.
Tell us the name of your book because I want you to say it so that I don't screw it up.
Yeah. And so everybody listen carefully here. Okay. So the name of my book is called What the Funk? And it's how to get out of the funk you're in with your health, mindset, and purpose. And so I wrote this book. So there's 3 sections, one on health, one on mindset, and one on purpose. And I'm telling the stories from my life. I tell one story in the last part about my husband, but they're mainly my stories. And it's my journey through, I lost 50 pounds 6 years ago.
Wow.
Completely changed my health and discovered functional medicine in the last couple of years. So chapter 1 is all about the innards.
Yeah.
So you talk about chapter 1, it's like, you got to know what's going on with your innards, right? And I've got lots of love for conventional medicine, but I do know that there is more outside of conventional medicine. So I've worked with a functional medicine practitioner for a couple of years because I have thyroid disease. And so I just think they can be very complementary. And
Absolutely.
so the chapters are not big. They tell a story, and each chapter ends with, how do you know if you're in a funk? What does pursuing alignment look like? Because when we are operating in alignment, and for me, alignment means that your actions are following or are congruent with what you believe, what you value, right? So going from being stuck and overweight and not feeling good in our own skin to being healthy and fit, that's a process. But the pursuit of alignment starts with a single decision to say, I'm going to shift, right? So every chapter ends with, how do you know if you're in a funk? What does pursuing alignment look like? And then what's your next best step? Because as women, I don't know a woman who is not an overthinker, right? So it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I want to go from A to, F, and I don't know what step, D, E, and F look like. And so we don't even start with the next best step. And so what I try to do with this book, and also with when I'm working with my clients, is don't worry about step 22. Worry about the next step.
Yeah.
Because when you take that step, that action ignites momentum and motivation. Right?
Power in that, Molly. And I feel everything that you are saying right now.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a while to learn to be comfortable in your own skin, first off. But then I think sometimes we think that we're comfortable, but in reality, we need to change some things about said skin to be okay. And I love that you're giving people permission to do that and giving them a roadmap for how to do that and creating all of those components. And I think the alignment is the really most valuable one, right? Once you have that. But I do like What the Funk. Like, come on, that's a great title. Well done. As somebody
Thank
gets you quite well, and that is one that we definitely all need to read. So guys, go and get it. Is Amazon the best place to find it?
Amazon's a great place to get it.
Yeah, perfect. Do I see it behind you?
Yes, you do. I do have
All right.
that
So
there.
for those of you that are looking, yes, there is a copy. I see it right there. Okay. So you are releasing people from the things that they're holding on to. And you do that, it sounds like, one-on-one or group settings. Like tell me about a typical client, and if people are listening and want to become one, who are we?
Yeah. Yeah. So we are, I work with both women and men, primarily women, who need to change some of the negative thought patterns, right? Negative thought patterns, and kind of build some skills around just building that emotional resilience and so forth. So the way that works, I have a framework that I take folks through. And I have a couple of assessments, and I talk about some of these things in my book as well. So you can always pick up What the Funk and read through that as well. But I take people through the framework and what are they putting into the mind, right? And if you're in any kind of, personal development circles, you probably heard the saying, your thoughts create your beliefs, and your beliefs fuel your actions dictate your results. Well, my spin on this is, yes, our thoughts create our beliefs, but what creates our thoughts are the things that we consume, right? What we read, what we watch, what we scroll, who we spend time with. And so part of what we do is a little inventory to say, okay, what kind of inputs are you putting in there?
Yeah.
So if you're doing a lot of scrolling or, binge watching, Grey's Anatomy for the umpteenth time, I'm talking to myself here.
I know.
Right.
I might have watched an episode last night. Just saying.
Just saying. And hey, there's no shame in that game, girl. Like I love a good, a messy TV. And I've just dated myself there, by the way.
You did, but I'm okay with it because I fully tracked with your rhetoric.
But when we are using those things to escape, numb, or avoid how we're feeling instead of just sitting with it and acknowledging it, then that keeps us stuck, and it fuels comparative reality and so forth. So when I'm working with my clients, we're getting kind of the baseline. Where are we? And we're saying, okay, what would you love? Right? Like, what would you truly love to happen in your life? Right? And then we're kind of deconstructing those things. So I have like a group coaching container, and then I have one-on-one coaching as well. But all of how I work with my clients, we work on the cognitive mind stuff, right? But then and then between sessions, I do the emotion code clearing. So we're putting the conscious mind and the subconscious mind work together to really accelerate transformation.
Oh, I love that. There are so many things, and I'm seeing so many connections. So for my faithful listeners who've been listening a lot lately, you should be seeing some connections too about the energy that we have, plus our thoughts, plus our actions, and how all of that works together. It's the older I get, the more I realize how much influence we have over what's going on our insides too, and how we can, not that we can choose what happened to us, but we can choose our reaction to what happened to us and how to push past that. So thank you for creating a space where people have a framework to walk through that process. That's pretty amazing. So I have a question for you that I am really excited to see where you go with. So I always ask, what's your description of productive joy? But I'm going to give you a second part to the question. So I want you to describe productive joy, but then I want you to tell me how it manifests with your sessions with your clients. So how do you help create productive joy? So what is it and how do you help create it?
Yeah. So productive joy for me in this season is really creating the space to name and acknowledge and attune to my emotions. Because I can hustle with the best of them, girl. Like I can get stuff done. I can knock things off a to-do list, but to sit and be and just get grounded and kind of drop into the body, that takes some intentionality. At least it does for me. And so when I can create that space to do that, then I really get centered. And then I operate from that place.
Love that.
Yeah. So, and how I do that with my clients is looking at, deconstructing a situation, whatever's going on, deconstructing that situation and breaking it down to say, okay, we can identify what our current reality is in this moment, how you feel in this current reality, how you want to feel instead, and then taking that aligned action, because when we take an action, that creates the feeling, right? So if we want to shift into more joy or feeling empowered or feeling confident, we just have to kind of break it down and then take that next best step. Yeah.
Love it. Well, okay, so let's go this direction, because everything you're saying is so practical and so real. And people might think it only manifests in the personal, but you came from the executive space and you were in the C-suite imposter syndrome, holy crap, do I really belong here moment.
Yeah.
How does this seep into the professional side of women, men, humans, right?
Sure.
How
Yeah.
all of your work seep into the work side of life?
Yeah. Well, and so interestingly enough, I actually write about this in part 3 of my book, because when I was living in that imposter syndrome and carrying the weight, it's like, I don't want anybody to know that, like, what I'm doing, like I feel so ill-equipped to do, and I work with some of the most amazing people. I still work for this company, by the way. It's absolutely, I was able to reframe what I was doing. So, but when we're in a corporate environment, we've got to get really clear on, okay, what are our skills? Like, what are we naturally gifted at? Are we using that in our work, right? Are we doing work that truly energizes us and fills our cup? Right. Now, I will say that when you are operating in the contrast, when you are working in a soul-sucking job, you know it.
Oh, yeah.
You know it, right? Like the work can be soul-sucking, and then the environment, that's the third part. That's the third piece of it. So are you using your skills and natural talents? Do you enjoy what you're doing? And do you living and operating in a, if we're going to use in a company, like a corporate culture that really supports the work that you're doing, like that's what I call purpose alignment. And so, and you can have different parts of that formula, So you can love what you can have the skill, but not love it. And I talk about in my book, like my mom told me when I was like 8 years old, you're such a good cleaner. You're so good at cleaning and organizing. Well, great. That's a skill. Do I enjoy doing it? Absolutely not. Right?
I'm good at it, but I do not love it.
That's right. And so you can have a skill, but not enjoy it. You can have a skill and enjoy doing that. And you can have both of those things, but be in a toxic environment and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not going to survive there. Right. And so we talk about in the work, a lot of people, it's like, I have to work to earn money. But what if you could use your skills doing something you enjoy in an environment that supports that? Like, you know how much more magnetic you would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you have that.
Well, and so I just had this conversation with somebody that I was on their podcast recently, and this is what our company does. So our company is called Intentionality Group, and we go in and help build cultures alongside. We help lead, learn, and grow, right? But it ultimately boils down to how do you make people feel? Because how they feel in your presence is going to determine how productive or not productive they're going to be. And we have a very specific definition of fun. I'm going to ask yours later, so hold on to this. But my definition of fun is that people feel valued and appreciated, have a voice and they're allowed to use it, and they're able to leverage their talents for the greater good. And what you just said is all three of those things, right? So if I'm in an environment, in a work situation where I am valued and appreciated, where people listen to me and know that and bring value with my ideas, and I'm doing the things I'm made to do, magic happens. But what happens to a lot of businesses is they think, oh, that's very woo woo, and I'm not going to, focus any attention or invest
Right.
in that. And I would argue if you don't, then you better be real ready to rehire and have a whole ton of turnover and not have as good of a bottom line because you're not as productive. So it's hard to convince people that this is needed. How do you convince people that this is needed?
Mm. Well, when I'm working with folks, it's because there is a misalignment. So it's figuring out what that misalignment is. So I'm actually working with a client right now who's just gotten a new job, and it's just coming from a place of flow. So we early started working. He's like, I don't like this job. I'm not happy with, what I'm doing. I feel I'm bored. And then he started this new job, and I'm like, listen, so you've got all the parts. You're using your skills. You enjoy doing it. It's stoking those competitive juices. And it's a fun environment. Like, you've got purpose alignment there. So when you recognize it, when you know it, when you know it when you see it, right? But I'll tell you that I agree with you. There are a lot of companies out there who maybe fear, probably it's coming. I think it's coming from a place of fear, scarcity. If we lean into this, then it's going to impact the bottom line. But it actually is the secret sauce to getting your bottom line like blowing and going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Exponentially. And yet I think we're afraid of the things we don't understand, right? But you don't have to understand all of it. You just have to find the right people who do, and people like you. And so let me ask before we get too far,
Yeah.
how would people find you? What's the best way? Because Molly Smith is a rather common name. So how do we differentiate and make sure we get the right one?
Yes. So my website is nextbestup.co, or find me on Facebook at Molly Moore Smith, or Instagram at molly.positivepants. And
I just love it. Molly.positivepants. I mean, come on.
yeah.
That is pretty great. Pretty great. Okay, so have you always been this way, or was this something you truly grew into? Like, if you think back to who you were in middle school and high school and college, was this who you were, or have you found this version of Molly?
This is definitely through a lot of discovery. No, I was not. My parents divorced when I was in middle school. I went to an all girls high school. I was the poor kid in a rich school. Sure. So there was a lot of, I was living in the contrast, sister, in high school. But you know what, I look back on that time and it's like there was some resilience and some really good things that came out of that season. But I'll tell you, I mean, from my first job, for the next 30 years, I sought the external validation of my managers and other people for my self-worth. And when that spigot got turned off, that I had to step back, and I had to do a lot of soul searching and some personal growth, and realizing I get to choose my reaction.
Yeah.
I get to choose how I show up. And if I hook my mindset and my attitude and my perspective to somebody else, I'm going to always be disappointed.
Okay, that's a mic drop moment. And for those of you listening, I hope that you heard exactly what Molly just said, which was it's not the external that gets to determine our self-worth. It's the internal. Worth is not earned. Worth is just there. But we tend to bury it, hide it, pretend it doesn't exist because of words that others have told us. And that's a gift we're giving them. Why? Why are we giving that gift away? I also have learned a heck of a lot about myself and figured out some self-worth things in recent years. Self-confidence is not something I've ever struggled with. Self-worth definitely is. And I'm so appreciative of people like you who are helping others go on this journey through your learning, through your hard things, and have made it simple for us to be able to follow it. That's pretty beautiful. And I'm really, really grateful for it. I'm even more grateful that you decided that Productive Joy was a space that you wanted to share that stuff with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If your handle is Molly.positivepants, then is there a better place for you to be than Productive Joy? No, I don't think
There
so.
you go.
I
Yes.
legitimately just keep talking, but I know that people will stop listening. So we want to keep them wanting more. Therefore, are you okay if I ask you some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Gosh, are you excited? Okay, so I told you a second ago, I gave you my definition of fun, but what's your definition of fun?
Oh gosh, doing something that energizes me. So anything that raises my vibration, tuning into that, I'll do it all the time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Raises my vibrations. Okay. How do you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
Wow, that's a good one. I'm making choices that align with who I say I am and or want to be.
I love that. Gosh,
Yeah.
if we did a little more of that, if all of us did a little more of that, we'd be in good shape, wouldn't we? Okay. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Oh yeah. So, if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, like wake up in a funk. So there are a handful of practices that I pull off the proverbial shelf and stack them in order to pivot out of that funk. So a lot of that is I'll do some meditation, I'll do some grounding. It's getting centered, if you
Sure.
will. Now, if I and I know everybody, you included, everybody who's listened, like if you've been in a place where it's just you're getting increasingly more frustrated and and it's just compounding and compounding. My absolute go-to strategy there is to change my state. So that is, I learned this from Ed Milet. If you've heard of Ed
I
Milet,
do love Ed Milet.
Ed's amazing. But I physically get up from my desk and I'll go water the plants. I'll go take Sully out. I'll go to the gym and get a workout in, right? I've got to physically get up from where I'm at because I've got to shift my perspective. A workout will always do that for me as well.
Yeah, same. Oh, I'm with
Yeah.
you on that fully. Yeah. Okay, last question, tough question. So, by nature, our brains only hold on to one major idea or major thought after a 30-minute experience. So, it's not that you didn't say 900 brilliant things, but what's the one that you really want to leave people with today?
Gosh. Living a life of purpose and fulfillment and joy is entirely possible, no matter where you are in life. No matter where you are in life. So I'm 49, got adult-ish kids. I've got a lot of years in front of me. There's a lot of life to live, and we can live and build something meaningful that in the next chapter, purposeful and joyful. In this next chapter, it's going to probably require a little bit of emotional resiliency and those types of things, but it's entirely possible. So if you're wondering, is this it? Am I destined to keep living the way I am? The answer to that is unequivocally no. There's so much out there for those who are willing to step up and say, okay, I want more.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
let's go do it. Let's go
Molly.
do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And I hope people will go find you and get this book and get it all into their system because we all need a little more Molly Smith, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for choosing to share your brilliance on Productive Joy. Thank you for giving people hope and for recognizing that you had a story worth telling and putting it into print. That is beautiful. And I'm so appreciative that you did it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So listeners, y'all, I'm telling you, they get better and better and better. And so please go look Molly up, find all of her stuff in the show notes, share this episode with all of the humans that you know, because we all need this free shot of B12 and the reminder that we have a lot more influence than we realize over our circumstances and how we handle them if we just let some things go. So if you're not already following, follow. If you're sharing, share it with everyone you know. And do me a favor, grab a nugget or two of wisdom and find a way to turn fun into action.